In this video, I'm going to explain the differences between Invincible comic book and show for Season 2, but I am going to touch on things that I missed in Season 1. In the show, Green Ghost and Shrinking Ray are women, while in the comic, they are both men. I mostly think gender swapping is kind of lazy, but in this case, especially with Shrinking Ray, Ray in the comic is a nothing character who gets eaten by Komodo Dragon. She survives that encounter in the show. So far, she's been getting more depth and backstory to her character. Green Ghost's male counterpart actually appears in the Adam Eve special. As you know, William, Mark's best friend, is gay in the show. In the first scene he appears in, he talks about how hot Omni-Man is.
He's hot and all, and that mustache.
He also dates a guy called Rick. While in the comic, he doesn't seem gay at first. He also doesn't like Rick at first after Rick calls him by the wrong name. William even dates Eve for a bit before Eve leaves him because of how annoying he is. William and Rick eventually become friends and then roommates. Until after the Viltrumite War, Mark visits William and Rick and then they reveal that they are gay. I think they should have kept this storyline of William slowly coming out as gay instead of having him already be gay from episode 1. In the bigger picture of the story, it doesn't matter, but I feel William doesn't do much in the show after season 1 because they skipped over 90% of his storyline, but that's just a minor nitpick. When Mark reunites with Nolan, he's not having it.
Why?
It's complicated. Come with me and...
Now why would you lie to me again?
Nolan apologizes for all the things he did in season 1, but Mark doesn't care and tries to leave the planet. This moment is a bit different in the comic. Instead, he breaks down, begging Nolan to come home to make things the way they used to be. The fight with the Viltrumites is also slightly different. In the TV show, Mark gets the upper hand on one of the Viltrumites, while in the comic book, he doesn't stand a chance and he gets wrecked. The Viltrumites that attack Alan and invade Thraxa are slightly different between both versions. One of the 3 Viltrumites in the show is a woman called Thula, who does appear in the comic, but much later. She also doesn't die to Omni-Man. In the Mark vs. Angstrom fight, in the show, he sends Mark to a universe that has a guy who's inspired by Spider-Man called Agent Spider. Oh, fuck me, Kirkman. Oh, you couldn't have just sucked Kevin Feige's dick. You couldn't have sucked Sony's dick for... Spider-Man, come on, bro. It's that simple. Anyway, but in the comic, he actually gets sent to the Marvel universe where he meets the real Spider-Man. In the show, Cecil sends Mark to Atlantis to marry the Queen after Omni-Man killed their king. Yeah, that's right. When he gets there, they reveal that they abandoned that ritual and they make him fight a monster instead. In the comic, he has to fight a monster and then marry the Queen. And then fuck her in the same arena he fought the monster in. One of her guards is in love with her, so Mark makes it look like he defeated the monster, so they fuck as Mark gets out of there. As part of the ritual, they make him wear a dress. Mark's life as Invincible gets in the way of his relationship with Amber in both versions. We get scenes where they talk about their problems and see how different their lives are.
Well, college is no joke. I failed a sociology test that's worth 1/3 of my grade.
I'm not an insect like these creatures.
They try to fix the relationship, but after the Viltrumite Anissa threatens Amber's life, Amber breaks up with Mark, as they both realize that their lives are too different to make the relationship work. In the comic, the relationship is a bit messier. Amber eventually gets sick of Mark not being around all the time, so she starts seeing another guy called Gary. Mark catches Gary in her room. He immediately gets pissed, goes to Eve, and then makes out with her. Later on, Mark and Amber split after they both agree that it's not fair for Amber to be in a relationship where her boyfriend is barely around. Also, Anissa threatens his mother instead of Amber in the comic. Mark's mum Debbie goes through a lot after the events of season 1. She goes to a support group for people who have lost superhero partners, but it doesn't go well after she reveals to the husband of Green Ghost that she is the wife of Omni-Man.
I wish he was dead. I wish I could grieve and move on, but I can't.
I wish he was dead too, but not for your sake. You shouldn't come back to the group. Wouldn't be a safe space with you there.
This doesn't happen in the comic. Instead, Debbie starts drinking to cope with the fact that her husband was a monster who lied to her. Mark finds her passed out drunk in a lot of scenes in Volume 4. In one scene, Debbie, in a drunk state, tells Mark that it's his fault for Nolan leaving them. Here's some other differences. Omni-Man doesn't try to take his life by letting a black hole take him in the comics. Adam Eve's side plot this season doesn't happen either. And Angstrom's flashbacks of the evil versions of Invincible are also exclusive to the show. So is Thaddeus shutting down Alan's life support.